Want to call to order the July 19th meeting of the Monroe County Redevelopment Commission. Jeff, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Martin.
Present.
Commissioner Cassidy.
Present.
Commissioner Kiesling.
Here.
Commissioner Shelton.
Present.
Is Commissioner Tucker
Did he come in?
or Commissioner
This is okay.
McCarty? They do not appear to be in the room or,
McCarty is up there.
okay. Commissioner McCarty.
Unmute yourself, McCarty, Mr. McCarty. This is okay, all right. I don't know where he gets his sound from here or from up there.
Is he online?
Pardon? I don't know.
He is not.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so he is not present.
Okay, he's not present.
So we do have a quorum.
Okay. All right. First item on our agenda is a discussion regarding the site plan for the ABB major subdivision. We have a letter from Steve Smith, this is a letter from Jackie Nestor to Steve Smith outlining some conditions that the Plan Commission was interested in, or issues that Plan Commission was interested in, and then we have the reminder that there was a request to make sure that the road frontage there was consistent with the Redevelopment Commission's plans for the area, since we deal with development on both sides of the highway in that area. If you'll recall, we had this discussion with the Cook folks when we were splitting out those two lots into a separate TIF district. Jeff, you want to take it from there?
Yes, and if the TSD would go ahead and put up that display.
I don't know.
Well, and so these are the plans, and I could not print them off because my printer would only print a quarter of the picture. So these are the plans that they are going to do. I discussed it with the Kathy Stein, I think is her last name. Katie Stein, excuse me. These meet all the current conditions in the planning requirements and that for the streetscape. I do believe Richard's right, is that this is put in there because of what we believed we're going to see at the GE property, so that it would match up with that. I think, as we're all aware, that property has not developed in the manner that we expected it to. So if you could go to the next slide.
Is that basically the site plan that you just showed us?
This is the packet of information, which includes where they're going to place items, and then their site plan as well. I guess we could just kind of scroll through them, and if you have questions with any of the diagrams, more than happy to stop there and see if we can.
So closer to you, because I can't hear you.
No, I'm sorry. So they're planning to put a facility there, and I think what we're looking at is the roadway along the edges, and so it will have, all the amenities that are required under planning. So
Where's the roadway?
it is the Profile Parkway extension.
Oh, so it goes on to the back of that property, right?
No, this
Their
is,
development would be coming, their drive comes off of,
Say it again?
their driveway comes off Profile Parkway, the new piece of Profile,
Oh,
but
okay. Well, I didn't remember that.
it meets all of our requirements, and Paul, our
I've been there
engineer,
before, but I
so.
don't understand this completely.
Just to verify location in regards to this, this would be the southeast corner of the intersection of Profile Parkway and Curry.
Correct.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
and I couldn't tell specifically when I was looking at this, have they got it bermed along Curry? It doesn't look like it, so it's gonna be, there'll be a small surface lot along Curry, then there'll be a large building, is that correct? And then, given their nature of their business, there'll be equipment parked behind that building or to the east of that building, and then there's another building farther over, which is for some other
So are
purpose.
some
that they-
buildings coming down? Is that what you're saying?
There is nothing on that site at this point.
Pardon?
There is nothing on the site currently as far as structure.
Oh, then I haven't, when was that all taken down?
Yeah, it's all empty lots. This is all new
Well, I haven't
McAllister.
been out there for a while.
Yeah, it's been empty for many years.
Yeah.
And then with the new roadway, this company filed the petition to
And I remember
locate.
this, if you drive in from Curry, that there's a big lot up to the left and to the back. That's all parking. So they take that big building down?
Yeah, there's some
There's a
parking
small building
still,
up front.
there's parking north, I think, of Profile Parkway,
I'll
but
take a look at it.
yeah.
Right, there's no building on this lot now.
No, this is this particular lot would have been the closest one to the previous Westinghouse building or ABB building.
Right.
And it's been, it's,
I remember those, and I've been at the lot, not in the last 4 or 5 months, but before that, I've been at there a
Right.
couple of times.
So this is north of the storage buildings. There's some storage buildings there. And then this is north of that up to Curry, up to Profile Parkway,
Okay.
okay? As I recall, the plan for the west side of this was to do some refurbishing or maybe removal of the administration building for Westinghouse to spiff it up a bit
Wasn't that on Curry? that
and
administration?
on Curry. And then do a streetscape in there, which was vegetative, I believe. Sidewalk, that kind of stuff. I don't think there was anything unusual about that streetscape from that plan. They were kind of unknown about how they were going to redo the front of the buildings, but the building, the buildings were going to sit the way they were as far as I knew. So on this side, the other thing was that there would be on the west side, there would be no parking at the building itself. They have a stockpile of sand and gravel now where the railroad cars used to back in there
well, that's in the General Electric side.
on the General
That's
Electric
on the
side,
General
on
Electric
the
side.
west side.
Yeah, on the west side.
Right, which is, I mean, our objective here is to not end up with a great discontinuity between the west side and the east side of the road going up Curry Pike. And we just want to make sure that this plan is consistent with that concept for the development of that corridor. So there are then, I believe, one of these drawings that I saw had tree plantings along both Curry Pike and Profile
So where's Curry on here?
on top.
Okay,
Far left-hand side.
So
that makes more sense.
this is Curry Pike over here.
Oh, that's what I thought. Right,
So there is
so
no,
we're looking east
there's no entrance from
Curry,
Curry. There's an entrance off of Profile in this area.
okay, got it.
So they've got, this is administrative parking,
Right,
this is their administrative and storage, whatever. This is probably a machinery shed or.
is that still there?
Service.
Because I don't remember seeing that the last time I was out there.
These buildings are not there.
Okay,
They're not there. Do you have the other one that has the streetscape on it?
Let me run up and It should have all of them on there.
Yeah.
Lisa, you've reviewed the site distances.
Yeah,
all of the
so,
necessary.
and all of these developments, our engineer, our project manager for any of the right-of-way permits, driveway permits, they're completely involved from beginning to end for these developments, so.
So from a
Yeah.
preliminary plat standpoint, highway's position and MS4 has been
Yep.
satisfied in regards
Yeah.
to what the conditions
They're
are.
all involved in these developments, absolutely.
Is there any particular issues that are outstanding on this
Not
plat?
that it's been brought to my attention, no.
Yeah, I think they've got everything taken care of. It's just, does it, from our perspective, does the east side and the west side look
Yeah.
similar enough?
Yeah, we want a
Certainly-
continuity.
Right.
as well.
On the west side, we've got a very big, tall building. This building they're gonna put up, I'm sure, is 2-3 stories tall. So that it's gonna look rather similar. The fact that they're moving it away from the road will keep it from looking like a tunnel effect, because the one Cook building is pretty much right up to the
Right.
easement on the road. I just wanted to check, make sure about sidewalk, street trees, and any berming they might do. This might be it. Or is that what they're talking about tree-wise? Doesn't,
This is the landscape.
there we go, okay,
This is sheet 16 for landscaping,
right,
so you can see the tree plantings and everything along there.
right. And so the open areas that are not shown as landscape are grass. Is that one?
What's our elevation look like, Richard?
So this is all grass in here then?
From what I can tell, it should be. Because they just have the one drive coming off of profile.
One drive, they're gonna do something over there at some point. Now this is McAllister, so are they gonna do their rental out here?
I believe so, yeah. Of
So
course,
where-
master rental is
So is this?
on
actually-
down.
So, two parts of that. One, you've got an administrative office here. Then you've got where you put all that equipment that you're renting. Question is, there's no pad here for that equipment. Are they planning on putting all that inside?
I'm guessing maybe this is phase one. If they have, I haven't seen future plans or the next.
Because it doesn't, you know, where does the equipment? What I want to make sure is we don't end up with quick parking here.
Right.
No,
You want to avoid that, right?
Yeah. And that's something that we can make sure that moving forward, that is a concern of the RDC board for the equipment storage.
You don't want to have the equipment outside, is that what you're saying?
We don't want it parked in any grass
In the
area
view.
along Curry Pike and administrative
Right.
parking. Yeah.
What's the conditions that are necessary to ensure that? Is that on the plat itself, or is that a condition of each permit?
So I think this has a little ways to go. I don't think it's been in front of the plan commission meeting that I've been at. So that is one thing that I can send an email to our planning department, and employees in our department to make sure, and the design group, Katie, to make sure that was a concern, for the equipment storage.
Does this have to go in front?
So
of
we
the
do see
planning
tree
commission?
planting, we do see some kind of, I don't know, that boxwoods or. Hard to tell with the way they put the symbols on there, but it's not quite clear what this planting is.
Okay.
So Richard, just to be
As long as
clear,
it meets our requirements,
As long as it meets, yes,
then it
correct.
could be whatever they
Okay.
want to do that meets the requirements.
And I will stress that in an email to planning, copy Jeff and everybody, that was part of the discussion here today.
Copy us on it.
okay, so the main objective that we're looking for is continued continuity in regards to the visual landscape, the visual view of Curry Pike, and that we don't maintain a canyon effect, and that there's not equipment and other items in between the Curry Pike and the administration building or the parking lot.
Okay.
Whatever that.
I should be able to get an email, probably response tomorrow to answer some of those concerns, and I'll forward
We're
them
supposed
along.
to make some commitments for us on several of the lots.
So, Jeff,
We need to get some pictures.
moving
of the
forward in
lots.
regards to this, what exactly are we needing to act, do, and identify in order to,
Well, they're required to consult with us pursuant to their planning
okay,
information. And I think they've provided us a lot of information. I think if we have concerns, which it sounds like we have a few, we will get with the designer and the planning department to make sure they know what those concerns are. We'll let you know what the resolution of those concerns are.
Yep.
I think it says that they're to consult with us, and I think they've met
Yes, I think so.
that burden.
Do you need any?
Well, is there any
resolution from
time
us, or-
constraint on us giving them an answer, or can we wait till we get some more information?
I'm sorry, I couldn't.
Say it again, Steve.
Do we have to decide today, or can we wait and get answers, especially on where they're gonna have the equipment, before we say it's okay with us? Or do we need, or is there some kind of hurry to get this done?
I don't know if there's a hurry to get this done. I think their requirement was to consult, and that we're giving them feedback. And so I think it's part of a conversation.
Oh,
And if they
okay.
address those questions in a way that we find satisfactory or at least responsive, I think that they've met that burden. I think we can, depending on what their response is, we can bring this back at the next meeting. But as long as their responses fulfills or alleviates the concerns, I think we would have at the next meeting just a statement with that.
Yeah, and I don't think we have a yay or nay say in
No.
this.
it's just consultation in regards to
Yeah.
get feedback.
Yes.
Okay, quick question is,
Well, it looks to me like it fits in that area so long, I mean, this matches what's on the west side of Curry to me, so long as we don't have them parking big equipment along Curry Pike or even along Profile, really.
Yeah,
That's,
yeah, I don't remember anything in any of the presentations from Cook that they had any intent of putting anything large there. They did put in the parking lot south of the building. They've been slowly working on the building itself. They've got the borrow pile from inside that they have been slowly taking down, and they did remove the electric station, which was on the corner of Profile and Curry. So they've done as much of what they had planned as was prudent at the time, given the economic circumstances they ended up in. So I think we're fine with it going forward. You have a list of questions of things that we want to do.
Yeah, I'd like to have that information, because I really don't have a good picture of what is being proposed.
Yeah.
I do have one question or two additional questions in regards to, as we look up here at number 7, as far as stormwater facilities.
Yeah.
While we're looking at the petitioner to write covenants for our planning department for the stormwater, when we look at the long-term effects of stormwater, what is this will be held to the individuals that own all of the lots, because the drainage will be a common drainage?
Good question.
Yeah, it's common drainage. There are 2 ponds. There's one north of, what's the avenue that runs on the south side? It's Johnson? Jonathan. There's one on the north side, and then there's another one on the south side as well. And these are pre-existing from at the time it was an ABB property when Westinghouse was there.
That's where the
Right.
reason I asked this question in regards to the drainage aspect of it, where we put the covenants and restrictions in to make the owners and their perpetuity take care of it. Is there ever any consideration of utilization of a sinking fund that the lot owners would pay into so that as regional stormwater maintains it, but it still has the funds in order to do it in a long-term basis? Because as we know from previous circumstances, as time goes on, people forget, and private individuals either don't have the knowledge or the financial capacity to do it in order to ensure that those structures are taken care of, as Iris had indicated, from a flooding standpoint.
To my knowledge, nothing has ever been set up that I'm aware of, that there's a fund out there that is governed by lot owners, except if you run into like an HOA. But when we've run into issues with that, when you do have even an HOA, the houses sell, people move, people don't pay the HOA fees. We have not looked into that. And then I guess you'd also have to think about, in relation that we already collect a stormwater fee, of tacking on another cost. I guess that would have to be something that would be looked into, and a group thing with all those lot
Not looking at
owners.
a long-term, not looking at an individual thing for a continual, perpetual thing, but as we sell lots and as we redevelop things, and we look at how we're going to take care of, underground detention and these other things, part of the governmental entity is if we can put a sinking fund or something that is dedicated for those rebuilding the structures long-term, then we don't have that continuation of fee. We're able to build those finances long-term.
I don't think it's an avenue we've looked into. However, I do think that we've come a long way, especially development on this west side of our specifications, our plan reviews, what's required. And then we also, we look outside of that area. We look at the whole watershed and how it's going to affect that. So as an additional fee, probably, no, we have not looked into that. But I do think that we're more aware of how these lots as they develop.
Well, not just specifically here.
Yeah,
As we
yeah.
look at these lots where we have.
We need to make a record, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
That the property owners need to pay attention to that and work with
Correct.
that,
Correct.
or some kind of.
Well, and-
No additional fees, I'm just talking in the upfront situation, so there's adequate dollars. to
Well,
take
and
care
I'm not even saying additional fees, but I don't think it's out of the question that you look at different structures of the current stormwater fee also. We have straight fees out there, and then some areas are based on the pavement area, basically.
Impervious cover. yeah.
Yes, that was the word I was looking for. Thank you, Richard. So I think that's something that we've wanted to take a look at. It went for a 10-year period of not being addressed. Then we increased the stormwater fee, and now I think it's something that we still need to look at and improve moving forward to address these types of issues.
Yeah, it's a cost issue based upon what it takes to retain the water, because, Lake Monroe is a water retention area.
Yeah.
So, okay, that takes care of one concern. And
Okay.
then the written commitment, and forgive me for my ignorance in regards, the written
What
commitment to
number are you
not,
on?
I'm sorry, number 11.
Okay.
The written commitment to not build the eastern portion of proposed lot 7 for 5 years. Purpose of future connections to Sunrise.
Where is that? Where's lot 7?
We're not looking at lot 7.
Right.
Lot 7, I believe, is the lot, and I think actually when this was done, after this was done, we did that swap where we gave up some of the right-of-way we had acquired for a Jonathan Drive connection for this area, for the area in lot 7 that allows us, so we have that right-of-way for that portion of the Vernal Pike Connector Road.
Well, and the reason I asked that, I understand the time frame. It's just a matter when we hit a 5-year time frame, and we've set this in writing, whether it be through our planning commission or in our consultation with them discussing it, what time frame does that actually start at?
When does
rather
it
than just
start?
5 years?
Yeah,
Is
when
it
does
from
the
the time
5 years start?
of final plating? Is it from the time of?
I think it would be from the November of 2019 would be the
November
5,
2018?
19.
19.
But I believe that we've resolved that. Right? The point of that was that we knew we were going to do this project. We did not want them to build something where we knew we were going to want the property, and I think we've acquired that property at this point.
Not sure that commitment is really needed at this
That's
point,
what-
but that will be something else I will
It's
question.
something to record though.
Yes.
People-
Well, that was
what
the question I was
intention is.
looking
Yeah.
at in regards to not to hamper any redevelopment of it based upon a time frame when that starts, so everybody is aware.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Somebody starts dating and someone says, oh, you can't do that,
And 5 years is,
5 years
Okay.
is pretty soon.
All right, moving on.
So will
We
answer
have
this again?
resolution 2023-005 pledging the Fullerton Pike TIF. I will recall your attention to the minutes for, what month was that? For April, where we had talked about this briefly, and
Right.
this resolution is the result of that discussion. It has to do with the outstanding TIF. Whoops, wait a minute.
That was on the April 19th? that we
No,
talked
it
about,
was,
I think?
I've got the wrong one. Oh. Yeah, it's on April 19th. It was in the second point, bullet point number 2, paragraph number 1. Okay. Jeff, you want to tell us about this resolution?
Yes, this resolution, and I think as a preamble, the county council has done the approvals that are needed for them to issue this bond. This resolution is a redevelopment pledging essentially 50% of the TIF revenue from the Fullerton Pike TIF towards the bond obligations, and the remaining portion of that will come from the Major Bridge Fund. Again, the project associated there, and I want to be fairly, the primary project for this is to finish off the Fullerton Pike Bridge project, which is essentially part of phase 3 of the Fullerton Pike project, which is this TIF's major purpose is to complete that. In this, you'll also notice that a secondary project, which is the Mount Tabor Bridge project, is what we will utilize any funding over and above what is required for the Fullerton Pike TIF project. So we've talked with bond counsel, we've talked with the financial advisors to make sure that we're not running into any trouble with utilizing the TIF fund, because that bridge is outside the TIF district. And that's part of the reason we have the 50% in there, because we truly believe there's no danger that this won't cost at least half that bond.
Right, but it is serving the TIF area, so that's how we get the nexus for becoming involved. Okay. How did we end up with 50%?
Well, the 50% is based primarily upon the caveat that if some of the money isn't spent towards the major bridge of Fullerton Pike, which is physically connected to the TIF district, and goes to the Mount Tabor Bridge Road, that we aren't pledging, you guys aren't pledging more than would be required. Again, you are pledging that. If you guys made the decision to do 100% of the TIF funds towards that, and it was eligible for that based upon where the actual proceeds went, then that would leave you guys open to be able to do that.
But this would not preclude us from spending more than 50% of our.
No.
Okay, so we're committing up to 50%, but we have the option of
Yes.
contributing more if we have it available.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
We have to approve that.
Yeah, this would be
Yes.
a resolution we would have to approve and vote on. What was on item 4B, there's a note about 135% of the maximum annual interest and principal that was necessary. This was had to do with how much we could pledge for other obligations?
I believe what this is saying, that in order for you to pledge, to do a second bond, your revenue has to be over 135% of your pledge. And since your pledge is only 50%, I think by definition, you'll probably be able to reach that. But I also think that the 135% mark is there to protect the bond holder so that you don't obligate money twice.
Right, okay. So we are committing 50%. We could issue a bond for the other 50%, provided we had 135% of that excess coming in, so that we were protecting our bond, the bond holders of the second bond.
I think this is purely for protecting the bondholders of this bond.
Okay.
I guess I would just,
Oh, and for this bond?
yes, for this bond. So
Okay.
you have to have the ability after the second bond to make sure your revenues are still 135% of the obligation, right?
Okay.
I would just remind you that unless there is a secondary source of payment, it would be very hard to recommend issuing any bond based
Right.
on this TIF district's revenue because of the volatility of the major
Right,
taxpayers.
okay.
Namely, that if the hospital went not-for-profit, then the
And-
revenue would
Right,
would go
and do
down
you
dramatically.
recall the number of years left in that TIF now? Is this going to be about a 10-year, 15 years left?
I think it was done in 2007, and so I think it would be 12.
So it'll be about 12 years left?
My,
Okay.
wait. My math is a little sketchy,
Okay,
but
that's close enough.
So,
All right.
One question on this bond.
Go ahead.
How would it affect the bond and the process if there was more funds allocated through federal dollars between this point and moving forward?
I think the thing that would be affected, again, it wouldn't affect this bond necessarily.
Okay.
The question would be if the additional federal dollars made it so that it wasn't, that the 50% that has been pledged towards this project would be more than the amount of proceeds from this bond going to the project. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if we're issuing an $8 million bond, roughly speaking, $4 million of this bond should go towards this project
Okay.
in order for that math to work out. And I'm not a financial advisor, so I'm sure it's a lot more complicated than that.
All right.
but long story short, 50% of whatever the Fullerton Pike generates, we're gonna pledge towards the debt service of an $8 million bond.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. Of that $8 million bond, is because it serves the TIF area, we're able to legislatively and legally commit that 50%.
Yeah,
correct.
Because it serves the area.
Yep.
Now, when we get into the cumulative bridge fund where we're helping to fund the bond, part of that is the Mount Tabor Bridge project.
Well, the Mount Tabor Bridge project is solely in that with the optimism that the bids will come in somewhat lower than we need the 8 million to cover.
Okay.
I don't think in any realm we think that's going to be anywhere close to 50%. But we wanted to make sure that we had something in the bond ordinance that would allow us to spend that money on a different project if the optimistic view that the Fullerton Pike Bridge project was going to come in under the estimates.
Okay, so when we're looking at this bond issue, cost issue, and funding, the Fullerton Pike Bridge project is the first one.
Correct.
And then related left revenues will be allocated towards the Mount Tabor Bridge project.
Right.
That's what I thought.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Our commitment is based upon, in the TIF district of the Fullerton Pike, is based on the fact that it serves the Fullerton Pike TIF.
That the Fullerton Pike project serves the Fullerton Pike TIF.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the method we're utilizing.
Yep.
Correct.
Okay, now, as we look towards this $8 million bond that's been approved by the council, this is just additional funding because that bond won't be able to be covered, even 50% of it, by the Fullerton Pike TIF's revenues.
I would say we're structuring the bond, and I don't have the payment. We're structuring the bond so that the first 4 years, the bond payments are greater than in the remaining years of the debt.
Okay,
So we're structuring it so for the first 4 years, I can definitely say, yes, the major bridge fund is going to have the lion's share. After that, maybe not. I would say 50% of the TIF will not cover it, but it might be closer to reasonable.
and I understand now how this resolution is working. The next question I have in regards to, given the Fullerton Pike TIF district and where it is, and that we're connecting now a major road, is there an allocate, or is there consideration to extend the Fullerton Pike TIF or expand it in order to capture additional revenue into that?
I'm not aware.
Well, there's not.
Of
I'm
that.
aware of.
No.
But
No.
Is that a consideration?
I think that is, if it's a consideration, if the redevelopment commission feels it should be, right? I think that you guys have the duty to look at those kind of areas and see if the reasons for creating a TIF exist in areas within the county. And then I think if you guys determine that, then we talk to the commissioners, we talk to the plan commission, and then it comes back to you guys for a final decision. I'm not sure in that area whether there is ample vacant ground around where the TIF district is that makes it a practical consideration to expand the TIF district.
The reason I say that, as we look at that Fullerton Pike particular area and we make this major road connection, which Lisa's done a phenomenal job planning, and that will be a major east-west connection. Those revenues that potentially would come in from those developments, as it develops from 69 towards Walnut Street, if that money was captured in the TIF.
Well, we already captured everything to Rockport Road. Everything to Rockport Road is already in the TIF.
Right, and then it stops, and Gordon Pike extension on down.
Right, but there isn't much.
Well, the reason I ask that is the 80 acres and the empty, is that already inclusive in the TIF? Where we're looking at potentially putting the jail?
That is in the city limits.
City limits,
Yes.
never mind, we'll move on.
Yep.
And I believe it was originally in the TIF district.
Okay, thank you.
I remember Monroe Hospital being discussed over the years, so, yeah, I knew the TIF went that far out, but, yeah,
Yes.
city.
So any extension of the TIF would end up having to be on the south side
Yes,
of Gordon Pike,
I think that's right.
down
Yes.
to, okay,
Yeah, because I think west is,
already in the city of Walnut. Okay,
Yeah.
or under its jurisdiction.
The
well,
north side.
the north side of the
North
North side.
I am trying to think what's west of
And
that.
if they have their way, it'll be the south side too.
Okay, that
All right.
answers that question, thank you.
Okay.
Make a motion?
We would need a motion to adopt this resolution.
I move we adopt this resolution.
2023-05, pledging certain tax revenue to the payment of the Monroe County Bridge Improvement Office. Is that correct?
Yep. Okay. Iris moves. Jim, you want a second?
I second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution number 2305 regarding the Fullerton Pike TIF. Would you read the roll, please? Take a vote.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Commissioner Cassidy,
Yes.
Commissioner Kiesling,
Yes.
Commissioner Sheldon.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 4-0.
What title did you call it? Because you mentioned something. It is the, what TIF?
Fullerton.
It is Fullerton.
Yes.
Yes.
I just want to make sure that we're all talking the same language.
Okay, next up is residential TIF discussion. Has not been a lot of activity. Jeff and I have reached out to
Yeah.
one of the major landowners north of Arlington Road and have gotten no response back. So we don't know whether we're reaching the right person or whether no response is what they are interested in or what we should do.
I did have a fairly lengthy initial conversation with her about, hey, we want to talk to you and that. And then I know she indicated she was going on vacation. So I think maybe a second bite at that apple is necessary at this point.
Yeah, I'm not sure we're going to make much progress on this at this point. I think it really is going to depend upon how we end up dealing with the areas south of Arlington Road and whether or not we've got an opportunity to actually change that TIF district around and take part of it and make it into a residential TIF. Yeah,
There were
here's,
several people who talked to me after, farther down the line, who were very frustrated because of the gentleman coughing, one, and two, that we didn't have a mic that people could talk into so more people could understand what was being said.
yeah,
And they're obviously very much concerned about drainage in there. They always have,
Yep.
they have been for many years.
right.
And I think we need to do some more talking.
Yeah, I think we got better response than we anticipated.
Yeah, and people are more aware now because we have several
Yes,
people who
we
are
are certainly more aware of-
long-term residents who are also
Yeah.
interested. And they'll be harassing me for a long time.
Well, I found it interesting that we had neighbors, one of which got a card about the meeting and one of which didn't. So our notification process that we use doesn't seem to be getting all of the people that need to get
Right.
identified somehow.
I don't think we have a complete list of all the residents. for
Well,
the-
I think what we do is we notice people based upon the tax records,
Yeah.
and there are people who need to get noticed who are not on the tax records.
Right, okay.
And we need to figure out a way to do that better,
We
probably.
must be able to do that.
Yeah.
But the overall response from a public standpoint was very well, and it was attended extremely
I
well.
think they're all very worried.
And putting it into a venue that provided close proximity for those residents.
I think that's
It
good.
was very accommodating,
Yeah.
and seemed to go well.
Yeah.
How would everybody feel about additional follow-up meeting in the next month or two in order to continue those discussions? Because as we look at the recording and such, we do identify that there was one gentleman of ill health that did have an overwhelming effect on listening to it being discussed.
So I don't know
In
that
the
there's
public.
anything we can do in the short term to move anything forward. I mean, I think a lot of what was talked about were planning and zoning issues that we can't really address. We can make the planning department aware of them, but there's nothing that we specifically can do with respect to them. At this point, I think we need to finish up the project we've got and see where we stand at that point.
Where do we fall into, as a redevelopment commission, these issues that we've come up as we're discussing TIF districts, residential TIFs and things of that nature? It all plays into the public infrastructure and the problems that occur and how we redevelop things into the proper.
Well, I think that's what people want to know is what the process is. Do we pay for the infrastructure that goes into that area? And what area do we say we'll follow or not? But I don't think they understand any of that.
You know, and I think there's really two different
Pardon?
questions, right? I think when we were, and I thought this from when we were talking with at the meeting with the neighborhood and the people who live in the area, is I think they know what their local infrastructure needs are, regardless of TIF district or not. So I think, you know, that's one issue, and I think they were focused on that. And they were focused on, I thought they were extremely focused on things north of Arlington. I thought for the most part, if you were south of Arlington, they were my impression was that they were much more comfortable with the residential expansions there. I think they were questioning lot sizes and, would I live there, yes or no, which plays into their second big concern is that they feel that the neighborhoods north of that have a character that they like, and their fear was that really twofold. One is that any large development there would change the character, but it would also exacerbate a lot of their, kind of area infrastructural needs. So, I got the impression from that group is that, north of Arlington is going to take a lot more work, a lot more understanding of what the environmental issues are, what the current needs are, and then demonstration how the TIF could help with their current needs while not necessarily harming their how they see their community. Where I think most of them thought south of Arlington was far enough away from where they were that it wasn't really going to affect, and they see the corridor between Ellisville and Bloomington as somewhere that things are going to develop. So I guess my feeling was that I thought it was a pretty positive if you focused on basically what's currently in the North Park TIF, or State Road 46 Economic Development Corridor. Sorry, we had a long conversation about this probably 5 or 6 years ago, how we need to refer to all of them by the same name. But when you got further north of that was going to be much more of a community conversations where we need to answer their questions, and we need to help them understand the benefits as well as what they see as the burdens of that kind of development.
Yeah.
So, conversations to be continued for a future
I
time.
think so.
Yeah.
And we got more information.
Yeah. Well, no,
I just think it's gonna take a while.
it's going to take a while. And we may be that the current TIF will be gone and there'll be a new TIF after that.
Well, I've always had concerns with the size of that expanded TIF district, and that, it's not like a commercial TIF district where things can get built out fairly quickly, and with residential, you're going to build out infrastructure and then homes are going to come, but they're not going to come at the same pace as, say, what happened when Cook developed at the west side. Is, they built a building, and then yes, they expanded after that, but that first building provided a pretty good amount of revenue, and especially with the GE personal property with that TIF district from day one, really provided a lot of the revenue that went to build the other things. And you're just not going to see that kind of anchor with single family residential.
Yeah. Okay.
It's gonna take a while.
Yep. All right. Next item, minutes.
Questions first.
We have 3
I have one here for
minutes,
March.
March, April, and May.
If I may, I would like to move that we accept the minutes for the March 2nd meeting and for the April 19th meeting and the May 17th meeting.
Okay?
And that's March
I don't s-
22nd.
What?
March 22nd.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, March 22nd.
You see, I didn't have that on my list. Why not? I gotta find it.
22nd,
I'll put that in there.
19th, 17th.
March 22nd, is it?
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Andy seconds?
I don't have that on my list. Did you not send it to me?
There should be 3 of them there.
Yeah.
There it is.
Got it?
I don't think I read it. That's what the problem is. I didn't see it on, I didn't see it on my email, so. I usually read them and then I make marks. Make a note on my.
It's the longest one because it was the one, it was the one where we had the reports from Garatas.
Yeah,
So we went over all those.
But I just noticed that I have not put it down on my list. That's bad.
Okay.
Okay. But I'll put it on the list of approving. Any corrections? I didn't find any.
No,
I didn't get this one, obviously. I have to go through that. All right, which one's which here?
You mean to call the roll?
Say we've got a motion and a second. You want a roll call, Richard?
yep, need a roll call.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes,
Commissioner Cassidy,
Yes.
Commissioner Kiesling,
Yes,
Commissioner Sheldon.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 4-0.
okay. Next up are claims. We have claims totaling $638,381.49. They have to do with our condemnation on the Vernal Pike Connector, some inspection work, some tree removal on the Vernal Pike Connector, the annual reports, and then bond payments, which are the significant amount here. So this is our mid-year bond payment that will occur. Do you have anything to add?
I don't think so, unless you have
Okay.
some questions.
There is a voluminous packet of supporting information for all of these, including details on which trees were removed and how much that cost us, and the various bond payments that are being made. We are paying off redevelopment bond for 2000, or making a payment on the redevelopment bond for 2013, 2015, and 2020.
And I believe you were correct. I believe that is the last payment for our 2013 bond.
for which one? I can't hear.
The 2013, I believe that is the last payment, but I'll double check that with
Right.
the auditors. It's either that one or the next one.
Paying things on?
And then we've got,
On Vernal Pike, they're on the connector with Bluestone.
They removed some trees.
Was that in conjunction with the work you're doing, or?
Correct.
We've had so much bad weather, I don't know what's.
Yeah, no, that
I don't
was,
think that's possible.
yeah, that was for the project.
all right. Jeff, I have a question about the Monroe County GO 22. Does that belong in our packet?
It does not.
I didn't think so.
I don't think it's on there.
Oh,
It's in the packet, but it's not part of what we need to deal with. We've got 20, redevelopment 20 bonds, which are 290,806.25. We've got redevelopment 2015, which is 96,811.25, and redevelopment 2013, which is 186,850. So that other one, which is in our packet, does not belong to us.
That the one that you're talking about does not include the total that's at the bottom, that's on our package.
Yeah, but you need to, on this packet, this doesn't belong, but the following page does. So I need to put it back here in order, because there is a Hunter Valley 112. Where does this one come in? All right, so after that one that we don't pay, there is another one, which is Monroe County Eco 21 Hunter Valley. Now, isn't that the current bond that we've got for development of Hunter Valley? Where there's a commercial loan payment due?
Is that the Webster?
Well, that's,
Because that one should not be in this packet either. I apologize. I don't see that.
right, and then there's the Webster, which is, the Webster doesn't belong here either?
No,
It doesn't belong here.
but I also believe it's not included.
Just to clarify, these particular pages that are in the packet that aren't inclusive, that doesn't include, they're not included in the total.
No.
So our commitment that we're looking to vote on this evening for obligations is the correct amount.
Is the correct amount, yes. These other pages don't belong in our packet. Okay. All right.
Well, in that case, I move approval of the claims totaling $638,381.49.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
We'll do everything else that are listed in our packet. Right?
Yes. So this will be a motion to approve claims for Yasmin Stump, $5,334, DLZ, $583.92, Bluestone Tree, $48,379.07, Indiana Railroad, $1,017, Financial Services Group, $7,500, and Old National Bank, $575,567.50, for a total of $638,381.49. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Commissioner Cassidy,
Yes.
Commissioner Kiesling, Commissioner Shelton.
Yes.
Motion is approved 4-0.
Now, I did not check to see if that addition was correct for the ones that were listed there. I'm assuming they are.
Be a Scribner's error if it's not. All right. Next on our agenda is the staff comment. You want to go first?
Yep, and I'll keep this brief.
Good.
One of the reasons why I brought up the question is about federal funding is because you never know when you're going to work another deal. So as of last Friday, I worked out some additional funding for the Vernal Pike Connector Road. That goes to rebid in November or in December. After we bid it the first time in February, it was unawardable due to the cost of the project, which was, I want to say 13.7 million, just off the top of my head,
Right.
roughly. So that will go to letting in December. I spoke with NDOT. I gave them a number last Thursday, Friday, of 1.9 million, that if it bid came back in at 13.7, this is what we would need to bring that to an 80-20 split. They have committed to doing that, but we will not do a new contract for that until we see the bid, in case it would come up a little bit higher or lower, but they will bring the funding up to the full 80-20 split once that's bid. I know we've had concern on the west side TIF cash flow, but this should take care of
Well, but we still have
that
to,
issue.
still got to do our increment up to get
Yep.
to our 20% too, so.
Yep, and I don't foresee an issue with
Yeah, I
that.
think we should be
I
good.
think we should be fine. I've already sent the information to FSG.
Okay.
So that was good news, and of course I did throw, a $13 million price tag out there for Fullerton Pike Phase 3. They're still going to work with me on that. I'm hoping to push to tie some more federal funds to that project, but so we're not out of hope on that one. So that's why I wanted to bring up
All right.
that federal funding could change. If you have any questions on, we do have a mediation for the condemnation tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm not sure the outcome of that. I just had received an email with concern about the mediation, and that the county wasn't taking it very serious because it's a Zoom meeting, but I just wanted to, say that we have requested continuously information through the condemnation process, through our attorneys, our counsel that we've hired for the condemnation. We have yet to receive that information, so that was the reason why the meeting has kind of turned to virtual, because we're not sure we can have really any mediation because there's still some unknowns out there that we're still waiting on information. So I just wanted it out there that the county isn't not taking this serious. We are taking this serious, but again, we have to have,
We're not taking it seriously.
because it's a virtual meeting, it was scheduled in April, and it was supposed to be in person for mediation. But again, we've tried for months and months to get this information, and we've yet to receive it. So it's hard to negotiate, mediate without all the requested information that all the legal counsel wants to look at. So that's ongoing, the condemnation. But that's pretty well all I have on
Okay.
anything.
Progress on other projects? How are we doing up north?
Sample Road?
Yeah,
We are doing the final walkthrough on
Cool.
Monday.
good.
Sample Road.
Sample Road.
Sample Road. We have the final walkthrough scheduled for that. We've done a preliminary walkthrough with the contractor. We don't feel that there's going to be any outlying issues. We will do a Hunters Creek final walkthrough on Tuesday with NDOT to try and get that project closed out.
Okay.
Curry Pike roundabout, that should be closed out. Vernal Pike, the Liberty Karst Trail extension, that goes to letting in January. We did get actually NDOT to fund that one now up to an 80/20. And
Good. Sounds like we're doing
I
good.
can think of it, and a lot of bridge projects.
Yeah.
We have a lot of bridge projects going on. So yeah, I think that's the ones that's at the top of my head right now.
That's good. Thanks.
Quick question in regards to our Vernal Pike connector. So, I mean, it doesn't go out to bid back again until December. Long term, where does that go? Just stops at Vernal, or will that continue on at some point?
At this point, it stops at Vernal Pike.
In the future, we'll just look at how the connections go.
So when I look out, I know every spring I'm asked to submit projects for infrastructure and of sort, and what do we see for the future. At this point in time, we have some existing roads that are in the west side TIF that will need to be reconstructed due to the traffic that's been on these roads, preferably Curry Pike. There's some major reconstruction that needs to go on to those roads. It needs completely milled down. ADA compliancy work, drainage work. So that's my next project.
So these are like,
Curry Pike will have to be done in phases. It's 4 lanes. And you're looking at a typical road right now, it's just to pave a road, not reconstruct a road. You're looking at $115,000 a mile right now. That's 4 lanes, and it's a very long road
yeah,
with 20,000 cars a day. Again, so it would have to be completely reconstructed. So it's my goal. Once we build these roads, it's hard to maintain them at that magnitude because Curry Pike is such a arterial road for the county. It would be my goal to phase in reconstructing phases over the next few years after this Vernal Pike connector project, taking care of the infrastructure that we've built.
yeah. Is that MPO project kind of stuff?
Pardon?
Would that MPO get involved in that kind of reconstruction?
They could. Their funds right now are allocated out to 2028. So
You don't
it
wanna
could be
wait that
something that
long.
we really don't want to wait that long, but it's not something that we can't throw a phase in
Right.
there for reconstruction.
Okay.
So yeah, that's always a possibility, but it would be my goal after we get the Vernal Pike bid, see where our west side funds are.
Right.
And also keeping in mind, I know there's other needs for the west side TIF with the fire department. Those are things
Yeah.
that we don't forget.
Right.
So that's kind of my vision for the west side TIF at this point is,
Okay.
since we have these connections built, a profile parkway, and we've invested into these Vernal Pike connector, now take care of one of the existing roads that was built through the TIF and rebuild it.
Okay. Thanks. Jeff, anything?
Did you want to talk about the MPO funding? Did you put that local, the one you put in local industry? The plan?
Oh, no. Oh, so we had, that's a good point. So I believe back in the spring, we brought the MPO staff, Patrick Martin, to discuss the 2050 transportation plan
Yes.
and funding that. We did that in the past for the last transportation study that was done. It was estimated to be a $200,000 study. The city has committed in 2024 or 2023, $100,000 towards that study, and they had reached out to the county. We had originally come to the MPO to ask, or to the RDC to support that
Right.
study. However, I have gone ahead and put that into my local road and street budget.
Oh.
So I think that would help. One, it was helping the West Side TIF, since we have the Vernal Pike. Two, and maybe that can move on with the fire department and not hold them
Right.
up over the next few months. So I went ahead and took that 100,000, and it's going to come out of one of my budgets.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you.
Okay. Let me,
Public comments?
you mean you learned everything you came to learn?
Not everything, but I'm a slow learner. I'll have to be back.
Okay. Good. Okay, Jim, do you have any closing comments or questions?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay, Iris, anything closing?
City and county in terms of development, and some of the going too fast and making changes that may affect our drainage and our future planning. Because I went through my stuff on my TV and I was several meetings that I ended up stopping at with real concern of some of the things that are coming out. The big one that really bothered me was the Monroe proposal. Yes, I do slow that too. We were road and I didn't have a name for it. It's Bensel is who's doing it. There's 8 plots that they're doing.
Okay,
It's a 2-mile stretch.
Sudbury, is that Sudbury
it's
area?
That'd be
Is
a
that-
Sudbury.
There's Sudbury.
Okay, so we just recently were contacted by Andrew Sabor, the City of Bloomington engineer, and asking if we were aware of the project.
I was gonna call you about it.
We had not been contacted on anything. I'm sure because it's coming off, it's within the city boundaries, and his concern was connections to maybe county areas in that area,
Right.
or county connections.
Well, it's part of the still part of the 2-mile French. They haven't adopted them completely, so that's the other one.
So we've asked to be included moving forward in the process and where that project stands. So if it does affect anything that's county around there, I believe it would to the south, then that we would like to be involved in that. So,
All right.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, but I almost called you the next day and I got busy with something else, but I thought, well, I'll see you anyway.
yeah, we were very thankful Andrew reached out to us. He's the city engineer and he's great to work with.
Good, I'm glad to hear that, 'cause it's very, very problematic, this, as Richard mentioned earlier, they both have been, I was on the city council, and I think we met it on the planning commission, I don't know, their deal with the drainage over and that whole bridge across Second Street, they had to close that, the state had to close it because they haven't done the proper drainage plans, and so that has a whole potential. And I don't know if you saw the proposals right now, I have seen some of the proposals, I think it's a problem. And I think it's a problem that we all need to pay attention to and try to figure out whether they really need to go. And I don't know how many of this is.
4,000 to 6,000.
I mean, you came to the road. And the other part that I was gonna ask you about, actually, was complaints about people going, big trucks going on Redevelopment Road for construction, that road really can't stick that. It's unacceptable, and I don't know who will repair that road or redo the road. They will have to do it, because we can't do it, right?
We don't have, Weimar Road is one of those that's half city, half county.
I know.
So it's gonna have to be something that we work out together. A lot of times, we can take pictures and things like that, see how the road is before they start construction and make sure it's put back. But then again, when you're adding 4,000 to 6,000 units onto a road that
And the
So-
road floods too.
Yeah, I would, yeah, definitely. So yeah, it's something that we just became aware of, that if there's anything that we can do and have an input on it, we will.
But I'll tell you that matter when it's coming back up. Okay, they only have one here, they don't have 2 hearings, but I think it's too many. And I think it's something that we really need to get other people interested and say, maybe we need to wait for that, because we get all the other developments. And then we can do that. I don't even know if it would be affordable housing, because I didn't hear them say it. Sorry.
Randy?
To your point, stormwater knows no political boundaries, whether it be city or county. It only knows topography. So consequently, taking into consideration the community as a whole, whether it be city, whether it be county, the undertaking of structures and items that protect our citizens as a whole is what we need to focus on. So
It's all gonna go down, to Indian Creek.
yeah.
Is that a lot of rain?
It's gonna go into Clear Creek or gonna go to Indian Creek, it's gonna go to a creek.
Yeah.
Well, we had about 2 inches there 2 weeks ago.
We have had amazing weather these last month or so. We've had amazing weather the last month. And, okay, and I have no further comments. I think we covered everything during the meeting. Next meeting will be August, third Wednesday in August, whenever that. August 19th?
16th.
16th. August 16th. I may not be here for that. I will check. I'm going to be on a vacation. I'm not sure I get back by then. Or that may be the day I get back. Let me verify, and I'll send an email, and we'll see if we need to do something. Okay. Lisa,
Thank you, Lisa.
Lisa, get your pen back. All right. I think we got all the signatures. All right. We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second motion, move, CERN. People get up and leave. Thank you, folks.